Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to BodyBags. It's week 171, and I'm your Sunday host, Bourgie86, here on this Thursday. Yes, I'm doing a film review for the Sinisterone. Couldn't make it for you guys today. He should be back next week, though. So let's just get into this review. Now, the film I got for you guys today is a kind of like a cheesy film, I have to say. And it's one that's been in my collection for a while now, like a couple of days. And I did actually watch this film beforehand. This is actually my second time viewing this film, and I was actually gonna do a review on this down the line anyways, but why not do a review on it today? Because I was actually watching it too, so it was kind of out of left field, so I actually get to do this for a film review. And that, of course, is from 1988, and it goes by the title Hobgoblins. Yes, I actually really enjoy this cover art that was put out for this release by one of my favorite companies out there right now, Vinegar Syndrome, doing great restoration work on like these oddity films, and of course there are other adult films that they do also, which I don't really collect those, but I know they do a fantastic job at restoring these, so I'm guessing those look great too. Now let's get into the main plot of Hobgoblins. We're introduced to our main like setting, where we're introduced to like this like kind of like out of the mill like movie studio that's kind of not in business anymore. And we're introduced to the older feller, McCready, who's the head of the security who actually looks after the place. And what ends up happening is a freak accident happens, and the guy who's actually been hired to do like the security before and to take over pretty much for McCready if he like retires, because he is older, is ends up getting killed by this unknown force. And then we find out that McCready lies to like this head of the studio that he quit, and they hire Kevin, who actually, him and McCready actually hit it off very well when Kevin first meets. But when we meet Kevin, we find out like his life kind of sucks in a way. His girlfriend Amy is kind of like a bitch to him, and his friends are like kind of like not the greatest friends in the world. Like we got this girl Daphne, who's kind of like the slutty character, and who has a boyfriend Nick, who's kind of like a major like army like dickhead type deal. And then we got Kyle, who's like this geeky like kind of shy quiet kid who has like this weird like phone sex fetish where he likes to call sex hotlines and stuff. Very odd characters when we first meet him. And what ends up happening one night on like the job site is there's actually an intruder that happens in this area with their studio, and they end up investigating, and they go to like this vault area where earlier in the film that McCready told Kevin to stay away with. He goes into there and opens it up, and unbeknownst to him, he actually lets out these hobgoblins, which we find out are these creatures that came from outer space that McCready was actually hiding in there to protect and keep them in there, not to let them get out, for like 30 years now. That's how long he's been on the job for. And it's up to Kevin to try to find these hobgoblins, and he hooks up with his friends and helps them try to survive, because these hobgoblins have like this weird supernatural power where they can take over your mind and make your fantasy kind of come true, but it comes on to bite you in the ass type deal at the end. So it's up to Kevin and his friends to try to catch and kill these hobgoblins before the night is over and before it's too late. So that is pretty much the main plot of the film. Now that's a little mouthful to choose for, but very cheesy film. First off, if you're looking for like kills and thrills, this isn't gonna be like the type of film for you. There is a few deaths in it, but it's not too high body count type deal. But this film has a lot of fun like 80s like cliche moments in it, which are really inspectable, and I really like the direction that the 80s like soundtrack goes and the way the characters look. But on that note, the characters are very typical assholeless type characters. They have like these tropes about them where like you kind of feel bad for Kevin in a way, because if these are his friends, who are going to be his enemies type deal? Because his girlfriend just doesn't like pay attention to him at all. Like he's trying to like talk to her, and she's more infatuated with like Nick and Daphne, because I think she has like this weird like man crush on Nick type deal. at the beginning of the film, and of course we find out like Kyle's like this weirdo that likes to use his buddy's like phone to make these sex calls, and we find out that his phone bill's been racking up, so he's been fucking him in that way. And Daphne's just a slut. We find that out very interestingly throughout the film, like in certain scenes where certain guys like, "Hey Daphne, how are you doing?" And she's like that typical like valley girl type girl, like, "Hey," you know, the way she dresses and stuff. She's actually a very funny character in some scenes. And of course, we get some very, very odd and funny kind of like sub characters throughout. Like they go to like this nightclub type deal, and actually the bouncer of the nightclub is actually Dwayne Whitaker, of course from Pulp Fiction and Feast. He was actually the bartender in Feast. If you ever seen that film, he's in numerous films, but that's how he was like, wait a minute, this guy looks familiar, so I had to look it up. And it was Dwayne Whitaker, of course, if you know that famous scene from Pulp Fiction where Ving Rhames and Bruce Willis go into that shop. He actually plays the shop owner that calls Zed to do the deed, and you know what happens after that if you've seen Pulp Fiction. That's a very infamous scene, but yeah, that's Dwayne Whitaker in this film. Not a lot of the other cast I know about it because I think they're kind of like low budget actors type deal, but the acting for the most part I did like the characters, but there was a little shakiness in some of their performances. I think it was like some of their like first movie maybe type deal. But overall, the creatures themselves are puppets, so you got to take that to effect what you're gonna get with this type of film. That sometimes the effects aren't gonna be the greatest, especially on the budgetary restraints of like certain like films. And this one probably is one of those type of deals where they couldn't do much with them, but it's kind of fucking hilarious to see like overgrown like people just playing like little stuffed animals. That's what they kind of look like they're doing shit and wrestling with them. It's kind of funny, but there is some cool like mouth effects when the creatures are by themselves, like puppeteer effects, which look good. But a lot of the other effects, like when they're interacting with other humans, is kind of cheesy in a way. But yeah, I had fun with this. This isn't a perfect film by any means, but it's a very fun 80s nostalgia film, which only you could get from a film from the 80s. And if you like your little blow creature features, this one's def for you. So if I had to rate Hobgoblins, I'm going to give it like a solid 6 out of 10. It's nothing too terrible, but it has a lot of fun aspects to it. But it has a lot of like cliched, like assholish characters and a lot of like weird, cheesy effects that go around with it too. But I did enjoy it for the most part. It's a really fun film, and I do recommend it. So Hobgoblins, 6 out of 10, awesomeness. Alright guys, that's it for this fill-in review. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back, of course, Sunday for my regular scheduled review. So I'll see you then, guys. Peace out.